Hi folks, Red Laborer here. I want to talk about Ron Paul and my take as a socialist on Ron Paul. Yeah, there are obvious positions where I'm not going to agree too much with Ron Paul. Um, he's an ultra capitalist on economics, and that doesn't fly too well with me. And his political movement has a strong presence within the Tea Party, also doesn't fly with me. Having that said, Ron Paul, Ron Paul might, as conservative as Ron Paul is, he might have been the most conservative voice in 2008 and in 2012 running for the presidency. Yet there are positions that he embraces that puts him far to the left of President Obama. No, I do not plan to vote for Ron Paul under any circumstances. Not as an independent, not as a Republican, or anything like that. Because there are some issues that are strong enough for me that I can't vote for Ron Paul on. But I do respect the man, and I think he's a good person, and I think he is genuine in his beliefs, and I can't fault him for that. Um, some people on the left has a beef with him. They think that he might be a bigot. I really don't see any evidence of that, but some people have made that claim about him. Um, I don't see that as evidence, especially when there are issues like the drug war, issues like the torturing of detainees, and this is those are issues affect issues dealing in race and ethnicity, and certainly Ron Paul doesn't seem to favor torturing people to extract information from them. He thinks that the drug war itself causes the underground black market of crime to exist, and believe that our streets and cities, even the inner cities, would be very safe places once drugs are legalized or seriously decriminalized. And so, for those reasons, I'm like, some on the left, I'm like, yeah, not so fast. Don't write them off so quickly. Also, think about it. If you're a partisan Democrat and you want to wish the Democrats well, wish Ron Paul all the luck being in the Republican primaries with his presence, because he's divisive. He's a divisive figure. I don't mean he's divisive in the sense that that is bothering people, me as a leftist, but I certainly love the Civil War when it takes place within the Republican Party, the internal strife that exists in the primaries. And in a way, you can say that Ron Paul is the Republican Dennis Kucinich. Yes, 2004 and in 2008 especially, Wolf Blitzer from CNN did everything he could to act like Dennis Kucinich didn't exist. And you know what? Around that same time in the Republican primaries, Fox News was doing the same thing to Ron Paul. They just tried to write him off. And so ironic that CNN, which is noted to be a liberal network, writes off their most liberal candidate, and Fox News, which is conservative on the political right, writes off their most conservative candidate. It really baffles the mind. But that's what happened. But as I said, Ron Paul has a lot of strong positives and strong negatives, and I think that he needs to be acknowledged for his strong positives. His opposition to war. I mean, it's great to have a voice. I don't care what political party you belong to. If you're against war, that's a good thing. If you're against torture, that's a good thing. If you're against bullshit anti-civil liberties legislation like the National Defense Authorization Act and the USA Patriot Act, that's a good thing. And I'm sorry to say that there's a lot of Democrats whereby Ron Paul on some of those critical issues is to their left. And so, this is what it comes right down to. And as I said, I would never vote for the man under any circumstances. But I am going to go and give him 2 thumbs up and kudos for talking about some very important issues. And and by the same token, I'm sure he'll never vote for Dennis Kucinich if he lived in Ohio. I'm sure he would never vote for Bernie Sanders if he lived in Vermont. But the point is that just like Kucinich and just like Sanders, when he sees something that's very problematic, he's going to vote his conscience and not be cynical and try to cater to the majority party's apparatus. And so I do respect Ron Paul as an individual because of that. And folks, especially for Democrats, it's fun to see the Republican Party battle within themselves. It was actually wonderful seeing Sean Hannity have high blood pressure on the air just about. I don't mean that if he really did have high blood pressure that would be great, because I don't wish ill will on anybody, but I'm just seeing him get irritated. It was golden, because I'm like, if you're irritating Sean Hannity, you're doing something right. There's something positive that can be said about you. And so that's pretty much it. I mean, to the left, he's not going to get the Republican nomination, let alone become president. So I mean, it's not really all that controversial to say some nice things about Ron Paul when he wants to be on our side on some key issues. And the fact that, I mean, he in spite of the strong presence in the Tea Party, there is kind of a Ron Paul faction support within the Occupy Wall Street, and in his movement's kind of crazy way, his arch capitalism can be construed as being against his fellow conservatives with their crony capitalism. And I hear things about a progressive libertarian alliance and that sort of thing, and sometimes I think that's not a bad idea, because the Washington consensus, the corporate centrists of both parties, even though individuals in both parties are probably not bad people, the corporate centrist message and good old boy network and buddy system is a problem in our nation. And sometimes you need strong outside voices to say enough with this bullshit. And you hear it, obviously, on the left. You hear it with Ralph Nader, Noam Chomsky, and Dennis Kucinich. And like Bill Maher said, they're not the most charismatic men in the world, but they do speak their hearts. And I would include Bernie Sanders in the mix. And there are people, some people on the right, like Ron Paul. And I don't want to go too crazy saying anybody else on the right. Maybe Governor Gary Johnson of New Mexico, who's who's now a libertarian. But when there are people sometimes there are people out there on the other side that are worthy of respect. And kudos to those that stand up against war and corporatism. Thank you. Please comment.